All right, we're at the top of the hour, Amy.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for coming to today's session, as well as those watching the recording. My name is Amy Kuntz. I am an instructional designer with Penn State's Teaching and Learning with Technology. And then at Penn State, we actually have 24 campuses throughout Pennsylvania. And then the one that is a little bit less larger is in State College. And so we support every campus throughout the state. In addition, I'm an adjunct instructor at Northampton Community College, which is on the eastern side of Pennsylvania, and it's currently teaching online remote synchronous and asynchronous courses. So most of this today comes from my full-time position, but I do create my own instructional videos, and I have one example within here. And today, this is talking about creating, finding, and assessing instructional video to engage students. I also want to mention that we will be sharing a link towards the end that has the PowerPoint slides as well as a resource guide so that you'll have access to everything. And I will post it in Discord as well. So our outline today is I know many of you know instructional video, but just a quick, brief introduction of is video right for your situation? Then we'll go over how to create instructional video, how to find existing ones by peers, and then from those that you find, how do you assess what is good for your course, including quality? And so then we'll wrap things up with some final items. So by the end of today's session, we want you to be able to identify video tools that are available to you. And I know it's different for every institution. Create targeted instructional video that could be used to engage your students. Understand where to find high quality video and to give appropriate credit, and to assess instructional video to ensure that it's right for your course. So the first thing I want to do is to briefly talk about something by William Horton that's done for e-learning. And he kind of defines activities within courses in these three categories. So one is absorbing information, whether it's reading, watching, or listening. The other is where you're doing something as a student or observing. And this could be practice, exploration, or discovery. And then the third is reflect or connect to either to prior learning or to real world application. So link to life, work, and prior learning. And so when we think of instructional video, we think it's absorb, but we want to make sure that we're active and having students be active. So trying to tie an instructional video to something else, whether it's like, okay, we're going to have a discussion board tied to it, or we're going to make this connection to another activity. And so that'll be referenced throughout today. And so what are some types of instructional video? When we think of instructional video, you might put it all within one big category, but you could actually have it be in several. So at Penn State, we created a resource called the Instructional Video Guide, and I'll put that in chat. And just to show you what it looks like really quickly, we decided to have a brief introduction and then talk about different video types. So I'll go over each of these, but if you're interested in learning more, we do have several examples as well as best practices. And so some types that are on that website include demonstrate, show, explain/tell, experience something new, I can't talk, unique and new to you, to communicate or remediate, and then introduce and orient. So just to give you some examples, one for demonstrate and show includes doing a screencast of how to get something. So this is Dr. Mike Chorney at Penn State Harrisburg, and he teaches an upper level biology course, and he needs to show students how to get into different research articles. And this is showing how to get to selfsignal.com and how to log in to their web portal for different resources and research that they have to read as part of the course. One that's similar but different, which is often utilized within courses, is explain/tell. So this is Dr. Ann Vardo-Zalik. who is at Penn State York. And so she used PowerPoint slides and then annotated them on an iPad at the time. And so this is kind of the equivalent of an in-person lecture. You could annotate and draw, and this is the life cycle of this particular element, which is it's a type of amoeba. And so from here, you could see that she has everything annotated as well as showing herself. The next one is communicate and remediate. And so one of these, and I do have permission from the student that I was doing. So this student couldn't figure out how to change the bullet points in Microsoft Word. And so this is within my course. And instead of having kind of a generic set of links, I wanted to do a very tailored set of feedback to help remediate where they were going to. So this was showing Microsoft Word on their computer versus Microsoft Online, which doesn't have all the features. And I used a tool called Screencast-O-Matic, which highlights the cursor in that yellow circle to show exactly where to do. So we wanted to go over some examples of what different types of instructional video are, just to kind of give a lay of the overarching elements for instructional video. So when you create an absorb activity where students are watching something, you could align your own or videos you found to your lesson objectives, your goals, your activities and assessments. And then if you're creating your own instructional video, it's really important to convey your own instructor presence and your own teaching style. So I typically teach students who are first generation college students. And so I want to make sure that I have this really deep connection with them, that I'm not very formal. I try to smile and be understanding. And I always say, you could call me Professor Amy by my first name and things of that nature. So whatever your style is and your student demographic, you could change. And I have one example here. In many of those videos, you saw someone visually appearing, and I am currently here in Zoom. But if you're not comfortable, there are ways to create a virtual avatar. And this is Dr. Veronica Paz, who was formerly at Penn State Greater Allegheny. So she created her persona because she hated to see herself and had this as her instructor presence whenever she created videos. So as I hinted at the beginning of the session, absorb activities are great, but you really want to pair it with something. So before you post a link to a video, you might want to have a sentence or two giving an introduction and why are students going to watch the video. Oftentimes when we think, oh, we're going to put in a video, students will love it, their time management skills or competing priorities might not necessarily have them watch the video. So if you give some context as to why and how it's relevant, they're more likely to watch it. So after the introduction, then you have the video as that absorb activity. And then the last part is student accountability. So it could be things like a discussion board where they reflect. It can be an assessment that's separate within your learning management system, or there are video tools, depending upon your institution, that have video quizzes embedded into them. So things like Kaltura, there is one that's free to most instructors called Edpuzzle. And so by having that all embedded, it helps create that well-rounded learning experience. And of course, the overarching underlying elements is that it's really integrated with other activities and to our course objectives, that you're not using video for video's sake. So I like to have a poll to you all, and we'll be using a tool called Slido. So what is your primary goal when using instructional videos in your teaching? Is it A, demonstrating or showing concepts, B, explaining or telling information, C, enhancing student engagement, or D, remediation or additional support? So I currently have it so that it only selects one because I want to pick your most common. So if you go to slido.com and then enter code 1965531, you'll be able to participate in this poll, and we'll have two others throughout the session. And so again, if you go to slido.com and enter code 1965341. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, so 71% who have answered said explaining or telling information, and then a tie for second place of 14% with demonstrating or showing concepts, or the other 14 for enhancing student engagement. Great, thank you for those who participated. And so while many of us have created instructional videos, especially during the pivot to remote instruction during the pandemic, there are some tips when creating instructional videos that are based upon literature. So the one is similar to what I said earlier, is to pair it with other learning materials. The next is to keep it short. And so we know attention spans are really difficult. So ideally, some people say it should be 7 minutes or less. But I know that's hard, but I really ask to try to keep it to 15 minutes. And if you can't have it be less than that, think about, well, can this larger topic be two smaller ones? And that way you can make two smaller videos instead of one larger video. The other one, which we'll do the flip side later on, is there is some literature that it's important to show your face as an instructor within the videos. Um, doing Thinking about cognition, there's other research that says that you should not just have a talking head. And so pairing your face with sharing of slides or a website or annotating on something, that is what works the best. The next element is build-in interactivity, which we hinted about. So if you can pair your instructional video with other elements, or if your institution has a video tool that allows you to have questions in the middle of the video, that can really help. And then video in itself, allowing students to revisit and to replay and revise their learning has helped as well. Some other tips for creating instructional video is sometimes we're in a pinch and we'll just have our PowerPoint slides and talk over it. But if you have the time, think about what's best and try to do some planning. And video production, there's 3 phases. There's pre-production, production when you're creating the video, and then post-production. So tips with this include planning and planning and planning some more. The next is to use what's called the S's, which includes storyboard, script, or a shot list. And so if you're saying, okay, well, that's great, but I don't really know what that is. Within the links that I have, there is what's going to be a more in-depth storyboarding tutorial that we have for our faculty and also for student creation. And it goes really in depth of what to do. And so if you're creating a video where you're narrating a PowerPoint, you might not have to have what's called a shot list ahead of time. But let's say you're going on study abroad and you're creating a video to take back to your students, so that way they have an equitable experience, and you want to film certain locations. It's good to kind of plan what locations you want, kind of what way you want to point and look at that location, etc. So, for example, we had a colleague this past spring break who went to the Colosseum and Rome and all of those elements. So we went and were able to plan where they were going to take video footage from, and that way they could edit it when they came back and to make it interactive for students. And so, given our timeline for today, we're kind of doing the higher arching items, and then that way you could choose what's more important to you to take a little bit of a deeper dive. The other ones is to do it horizontal. So if you have your phone, horizontal is this way. So more a bigger width than height. And so when we play video on our computer screens, on iPads, it's still that horizontal manner. I know that there are people who do what's called short form content like TikTok that do more vertical, but oftentimes within our profession, it still is doing items in horizontal. And then last is to kind of, when in doubt, if you're filming something, before you hit stop, it's called holding the shot, meaning that you wait an additional second or two to have that buffer in case you missed something, if you're going to do more formal production of editing, of fading out to black or something like that. And so here, this is just a picture of what a storyboard could look like. And to make it more relevant, another thing is what's called the one button studio at home. And so um, Penn State created what was called the One Button Studio that has been adapted by a lot of institutions where students come in, they put in their USB, and they press one button that creates all of this nice lighting and formal video. And so when the pandemic happened, we said, okay, well, how do we do this and set up things at home? And so this shows you kind of this video shows you how to kind of think about lighting at home and to have a professional look and feel. And so you don't have to do all of this, but this shows that just like how I am kind of lit, I made sure I had light, what's called a key light over here. And that way I don't have any bright lights behind me. I do have a window, but I have it closed. So think about lighting if you're in your home or in your office. And then if you do have the opportunity for microphones or audio, there's certain recommendations. And then many of us use Zoom backgrounds. So I have mine, and so that way you can think about what is appropriate to have behind you or not. They go into some other technical information if you really wanted to have it be more professional or not. But today for this session, we're kind of doing the specifics and highlights. Now, after you record your content, you want to think about editing. And so your institution might have editing software, whether it's Adobe, if you have a Mac computer, there might be some, but there's also other tools that are available to everyone. So Sadie says, I might have missed this, but do I have to be part of your university to access these web pages? No, it is 100% open to the public. We are very much about sharing information. And so what we create for the entire world to review. And so we've had people utilize everything that I showed today across the whole globe. We do kind of analytics tracking. And so some of these are on different websites, but if you're like, oh, where is that? At the end of today, I will put a link in the chat that has a link to the PowerPoint slides and to what is called this resource guide that has everything that we're talking about today. Great question, Sadie. Thank you. And so if you're at an institution that might not have video hosting software and you're saying, how can I still do this? It's really good to keep with the basics. So if you're a PowerPoint, there are ways to create instructional video within PowerPoint. There are also ways to do it within Google Slides. Other tools include what's called VoiceThread and Loom. And then I'm going to quickly show you some of those in a little bit. So I know I kind of already went to that one button studio, but it's listed here. And so for PowerPoint and Google Slides, I didn't want to go through all of the details, but there are support documents here that go step by step how to do them. But I wanted to show you a free tool called Loom. So this one, you can have it install an extension, or you could log into Loom for free. And this is what I have. It always upsells you. And you're allowed to have 25 videos for free. And so what I like to do, I'm going to go new video and record a video. So with this, it gives you the permission to say, hey, do you want to show your camera or not? This will not have your Zoom background, so you'll get to see my wonderful background and image and painting here. And then that way you can say, yes, I want my camera on. Yes, I don't want it on, and just have a picture. And then if you want your microphone on. So when you're ready to record, you press start recording. And I'm actually going to share my whole desktop right now, just so you get the whole experience. And so let's say I wanted to have a specific window. Oops, it changed it. I don't want to restart Chrome. I'm just going to do the entire screen for this. My computer completely did a reboot right before today. So I'm going to pivot and do that. So what I'm going to say is that I want to start recording, and then I want it to be this instructional video website. So then you press start recording, it counts it down. And so now this is a demo of me doing the instructional video guide. And so this is where if I scroll down, I talk about the video types, that there's demonstrate, explain and tell, experience or immersion, communicate, remediate, and introduce and orient. And then if you wanted to see an example for introduce and orient, you could go here and talk about and learn about the teaching points, the resources being used, and even play an example. And then scroll down for other examples. So when I'm done with my Zoom recording, I press stop sharing, and there is my video. So the nice thing about this is you could press play and see if you like it or not. And so now this is a demo of me doing the instruction. I'm not going to play it all again. And then from here, for you, if you wanted to trim the beginning or end, it's over here. And so it's really nice that you can, oops, that one's now paid. And so even if you do kind of the informal and ad hocness, you can create this video up to 25, and then you could press share. So you could share it with certain students. So I like this for remediation, where I give tailored feedback to one specific student, and just share it with only their email. And then if you wanted to share it to the whole class or just to paste, you could press the copy link and then paste it to everyone. So I'm going to put the example video into chat. So that way you could see what it looks like. And then I'll add that to the resource list in case you're interested in this tool. So the reason why I did Loom is it's free for everyone, and is a nice feature if your institution doesn't have instructional video as a method. So is there any questions about that Loom tool, or in general at this time? No? Okay, great. And so now I have a second poll for you all. is which aspect of instructional video do you find most challenging within your work? Is it one, creating your own instructional video? Two, finding high quality instructional videos done by others. C, assessing whether a video is effective or not. Or D, how to integrate videos with other course materials like activities. And so just like before, we're going to use that same Slido poll, but this one has now changed. So if you're on the website, it would automatically take you to the next poll. But if you joined earlier, or if you didn't join earlier, it's 1965351 after going to slido.com. So just for timing's sake, we'll give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, so we had creating our own instructional video, which we kind of covered as 33%, and that was tied with assessing whether a video is effective, with another 33%, and then the remaining said 22% finding high quality instructional videos, which we'll do next, and then D, integrating videos with other course materials. So thank you all for those who participated. So as far as finding instructional videos within that same Penn State website that we have, it's all free and links to a free media library. And then we have curated what's called an experience catalog that focuses on 360-degree videos or 180-degree videos, as well as partnering them with other artifacts called I'm Excursions. So I'll demo those in a little bit. And then others include what's called creativecommons.org. You could even just search on YouTube, or there also is what's called the Crash Course. So if anybody has heard of Crash Course, please let me know. This is, they have ones, I did this general one so you could see that they have one for kids if you have kids yourself, but college age is the Crash Course. And so they put it on YouTube, and this is done by the Green brothers, Hank Green, including that. And so depending upon your course, if you click on courses on the left, you can then, or playlists, sorry, they have a lot of playlists. So they have ones on political theory, religions, biology, art history, general back to school, how to do college, environmental science, geography, literature, AI, more so about coding, chemistry. They pretty much have covered it all. So they worked first on their own and partnered with public broadcasting areas, and now have really partnered with Arizona State University to create high quality, accurate videos within a variety of disciplines. And so if there's any of these that speak out to you and you want me to click on it, I will. If not, I will just click on a general one. So there's anatomy and physiology, psychology, biology, and much more. So nobody said anything, so I'm just going to do anatomy and physiology. And you can see this was created even 10 years ago, but has really maintained accuracy and other elements. And so you can see it's broken by topic, and it still does some of the best practices of having it be under 15 minutes, having it be visually appealing, and much more. And so since not everyone does anatomy and physiology, I'm not going to play it, but you'll have it here. So there's a question as just wondering, do we have access to your Google Doc on creating, finding, and assessing? So not yet. I didn't put it in chat yet, but I will in a little bit. And so as far as media, free media is in that document, and it includes citing resources, audio, images, and much more. So I'm going to take you to the free media library, and it talks about what is really good video, where to go, and where to search for it. And so you could go here and to find the various collections. So there's lesser known ones, including Pexels, Vidvio, Adareful, and more. And so I'm going to show you one of these and click on VidEasy. So here, this has free stock images and videos that you could kind of integrate within your courses just by searching and then avoiding Pro. The other element is what's next. Actually, I did add one more thing. So I know many of you might be thinking, okay, well, this is great, or finding instructional videos is great. Well, what about the Department of Justice ruling and making sure we have closed captions and everything for our students? One other tool that I'm not going to focus on too much is called Amara. This has been in existence for over a decade now, and it's crowdsourcing closed caption videos for public facing videos. So you might find a YouTube video that has 0% closed captioning. How do you make it available? If you go to Amara, it might have been done by a colleague and found it that way. So I'm going to quickly open up Amara as well. And so if you want to it provides an editor for you to do closed captions, and then it also has ways to find videos that have closed captioning on there. The other tools that I wanted to talk about are the Experience Catalog and I'm Excursions. So the Experience Catalog is trying to find 360 videos, and this falls in that category of videos called experiences. So not everyone can afford to go on a study abroad trip or have the opportunity to. They might not be able to visit certain places or even see it from a historical standpoint. So we have a catalog of 360-degree videos that you could search and have it narrowed down. So if you are teaching the humanities and language, you could see that there's 123 instructional videos. And let's say that we're talking about anxiety. Let's do Costa Rica. So if you saying, okay, I'm teaching Spanish, I want students to visit Costa Rica and get some contextual information, you might see this and say, okay, that's exactly what I want. If you're on a phone, you could get the QR code on the right, but if you're on the desktop or a computer, you could click to look at the video. And so from here, what's different about 360-degree videos is that you could pan around and see it in all directions. And so here, we're going to zoom ahead. And here you could see like we're looking at the person and the character who's here, but I want to look behind me about what's going on. And so this is really nice to kind of give context as to what would be happening in front of you or behind you. And so all these videos that are listed are that type of 360 degrees. The other part for finding instructional video is what's called I'm Excursions. So if we could go anywhere, where could we go? So we partnered with Penn State Global to try to find elements to give tours. So we have one about Ireland, we have one about Costa Rica, Myanmar, Czech Republic, Germany, Tanzania, Ecuador, and England, and much, much more. So I will go to Costa Rica. And then from this, and if you are focusing on language or travel or things of that nature, it breaks it down into food, art and culture, history and politics, and environment. And so within each pathway, it goes and has 360-degree videos. It also has what's called 3D objects or models. And that way you could give some context, not just with the video, but other artifacts that are related. And so I'm going to open up this 3D model so you can see it. You make it a little bit bigger. And so then this is that 3D model. And then students can manipulate what it looks like at the bottom, from the front, from this backside, and even from the top. And so by having these 3D artifacts kind of paired with instructional videos, it could kind of take an element that was mentioned in the video and give some deeper meaning and a closer look. And so the other big thing that was mentioned within that poll was assessing instructional video. So particularly when you look on YouTube, there's probably lots of, if you think about a topic or a keyword and search for it, you might get a lot. And so how do we figure out what is relevant is one thing, but then what about the learning theories related to multimedia? And then there is an instructional video rubric that we have access to, that I'll go over as well. So the first is to make that connection. So just as you would be in a library and to search keywords or terms to maybe find CDs or books related to your course content, that those same keywords are what should be used to search for videos. That 360 catalog of videos that we talked about, we partnered with the library and we're able to make sure that we were in alignment with what is used in the library system, to be able to have it be relevant for faculty members. Then another thing to think of is think of areas where your students have historically struggled that maybe video might be more amendable for them to learn that information. And then the third is to just ask your students, especially at the end of the semester, saying, hey, where would video be really great in this course to help other students who take it in the future? And to write those down. And so once you have an idea of what types of videos, how do you narrow it down even further? So that comes up with learning theories. And so there's what's called the cognitive load theory. Then there is the cognitive load of multimedia. And then there's what's called Mayer's 12 principles of multimedia. So we're going to be talking about all three of them. They're separate, but they are related to one another. And so for cognitive load, it talks about our brain signaling and how do we make connections to information. So it's really important to have text and symbols of important information together and be close to one another. The other is what's called segmenting. So we want small pieces of information, and that's why videos shouldn't be more than 15 minutes. You want them broken down. And that's why I try to, in my presentations, have times where we pause, we interact with polls if there aren't any questions, and to have questions throughout and offer up questions throughout. And so segmenting is having those small pieces or chunks of information. The next is what's called weeding. And so eliminate interesting but extraneous information. So it might be near and dear to us, but it might not be aligned to learning objectives. So try to trim that part out. And then last for cognitive load is matching modality. So we both want audio and verbal, as well as visual and pictorial. So that's why I have slides. I'm talking about it. It's not just me myself in my head here talking about all of this today. The next topic is what's called the engagement or effective domain. So you'll see a pattern. Most of these say keep it short, have it be conversational, think about the pace and enthusiasm, and then think about your students for the students that are in the course that you're going to be showing the video in. The other element is active learning. So this goes back to what we said at the beginning, is to have some guiding questions or connections. Video itself allows students to have control with pausing, going back, rewinding, but then having something to make them hold them accountable for watching the video. Switching gears towards this last section of multimedia theory is Mayer's 12 principles, and he has three called redundancy, modality, and image. So redundancy is that we want to make sure that, excuse me, that we have redundant information together and repetitive close to one another. Modality is also thinking about if you're going to, oops, sorry, let me make this a little bit bigger. Modality is thinking about having text and images together to one another. And then lastly, for the image principle, that's talking about that humans don't necessarily learn by what's called the talking head of me. And so that was mentioned kind of earlier. And so our last topic was the other one that was up there as far as assessing instructional video and is it appropriate for use. So Humber University used to have a rubric, which is what I had the slide with, a physical, cognitive, and affective. They removed it from their website because the person left their institution. But they said if as long as I create the link to the old source, so the link down here doesn't work, that I was able to give the definitions of each of these. And so to think about within your own rubric, kind of three general areas as well as a fifth overall. So the first is to think about the physical elements. So the technical aspects of the video. Is the audio clear? Is there a good visual design? Is there the ability to have closed captions there? Then talk about the cognitive elements, like is the information in the video accurate? Is it structured well? Does it go in depth in the material that you need it to be? And is the pacing good? So I always try to talk adequately, not too slow, not too fast. But if you don't want somebody talking really fast like this, and you don't want somebody talking super slow and can be boring. So you want to try to have that cognitive element of what's good for content and pacing together. The third is effective. So is the video engaging and it connects with the audience through their creativity and presentation style? And then the last is overall quality, the professionalism and the cohesiveness of the video as well. So I thought this was a really great resource. I'm glad that I still got permission to share the kind of themes that were in the rubric, even if the rubric itself is not available through that link anymore. And so to wrap things up, I know that we didn't have many questions other than the resource, but I am going to ask you all, what are you planning to implement or what questions do you have? And if you do it through Slido, it's anonymous. And while you do that, I will go ahead and put a link to the resources in the chat. So again, if you click on the link in the chat, that will take you to both the PowerPoint and the resource guide. And so if you do have any questions at this time or want to talk about what you're planning next, you could either do anonymously within Slido or within the meeting chat itself. So one person said, I like the storyboarding idea. And then another one said, do we use AI for video creation? So for video creation, it's been used in pockets. So one way is we use what's called synthesia, to have it be kind of a fake avatar, to create like a duplicate version of an instructor. And so we've played around with that idea. We've only used the free version. And so that has a limitation of how many minutes you can create. The other thing that we have, and I'll put it in the resource guide, is my colleagues who are more emerging technology. They've created a workshop for students where students create videos. And so it uses a game called Creativity, and they have what's called Can AI Play? And they use AI as a fifth team member to generate ideas to create a fictitious board game off of one that we have. And then they also use it for storyboarding and video creation. So another one is that they create a song as a fake band, they create a fake band name, they create the cover art for the fake band, and then they create a short video for that fake band music video. Some others came in, so looking into the video principles, yes. So the slides deck has, in the note section has everything. And Mayer's multi-band 12 I can't talk. Mayer's 12 multimedia principles is the one to really go into. Two others said, I want to create instructional videos about the special collections at my university. Thanks for a great informational session. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And again, that website will have some additional examples. And then last, right now at least, is how can I get started with creating effective videos without professional tools or editing? I love to make them perfect, but not sure to begin or what's good enough for teaching. So I don't know whoever said this, if you came in a little bit late, but I would probably start off with that tool called Loom that I demoed. And then I know I shared a website, but then just share your PowerPoint slides or Google Slides, however you do presentations. So think of that as that good enough. And it's okay to pause and have everything set up and then record. Or if you have Zoom and you're comfortable with Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever you use for meeting with others, you could do it that way. So we could, just like we're recording today and making a video, you could do it that way as well. So that is definitely good enough for teaching. And so thank you to the moderator for putting the evaluation form in chat. I know that we still have 2 minutes, but I know that some people don't like to ask questions when their video is recording. So I just want to thank you all. And then again, I'll have the link in the chat, but in case for those, especially watching the recording, you can go to bit.ly/ELCC video or the QR code on the screen. Thank you so much and have a great day.